Well, g'day, and welcome back again to Jiaqing. And today we are back out at our new college out at Dinghu. We've just finished a class, just waiting for the school bus to take us back home, and then we'll be back out here again tomorrow. We have classes again, tomorrow being Wednesday. We have classes Thursday and Friday. Yeah, busy. It's a busy time with new classes. But today's video, I actually wanted to respond to a comment that we got. The comment was on the video called Political Turmoil in America, where we talked a little bit about Charlie Kirk and quite a lot about the response to what happened there. And someone made this comment, which I loved. It's a really good comment, and it really made me think. So let's get the comment out of the way first, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. So this is from Peter Joel. I can't stand any talk about lefts, rights, or anything to do with identifying with being on a side. My brain just tunes it all out. I only care about ideas and policies and what I think is good or bad. I tend to think half the world's problems are from people identifying themselves as being on a side. Love it. Great comment. And yeah, I would have to agree with that. I do see merit in having left or right of politics described that way, because it sort of gives you a very quick overview of you know, when we're talking about a party or whatever. But in terms of individuals, actually even party, that's hard to really justify anymore. I've heard it said that America, the whole political system in America, has moved to the right. And you know, the Democrats, which are seen as being far left by most Americans, most European countries, Australia, a lot of places that are more left, have more social sort of stuff going on, would look at the Democrats as not being left at all. So it's all relative. So any of that description stuff really is very dependent on where you are at the time. With individuals, I have to agree. I've always said I'm very much on the left. But that's not to say that everything I think is in agreement with what the left would think. So yeah, I mean, this comment really got me thinking about how I label myself. And I think I'm going to stop saying I'm on the left. I'm going to, yeah, as you say, it is about the ideas, the policies. And a lot of the policies that I do agree with are what we would call left policies. But at the same time, there are policies on the right espouse that I would agree with. The freedom stuff, you know, for me, everything should be allowed. The starting point should be everything is allowed. Whether you're talking about guns or drugs or driving as fast as you want in your car or whatever, everything should be allowed. And then you start placing limits to protect society. I think I think it should be more about protecting society than protecting individuals. If you want to kill yourself taking drugs or whatever, fine, go ahead and kill yourself taking drugs. If you want to wrap yourself around a tree in your car, fine, wrap yourself around a tree in a car. Drive like a lunatic. But when those freedoms start affecting the people around you, for me, that is when the government should be stepping in and saying, no, You didn't just wrap yourself around a tree, you killed a family of 4 when you crashed into their car. So we're going to limit how fast you can drive. Same with you look at drug use. If you're killing yourself, fine. But if you're going out and committing robberies to sustain your drug habit, then that drug habit is affecting other people. That's an interesting little chat, actually. If all drugs were legalized and made much, much cheaper because there wasn't the criminal element pushing the price up because it's a criminal endeavor, would there be less crime? Interesting thought. But, so, and then it comes down to, okay, so we're going to allow everything and then limit things as it affects society. Then you come down with the idea of where do we draw that line of how much is your freedom to do whatever you want? How much do we impact on that freedom to protect society? And that's a really interesting discussion. There was a quote from Charlie Kirk, and I can't remember it exactly, but he was saying it's worth a few people dying so that we can keep our right to bear arms. Which, if it was a few people dying, maybe, but in America, you're looking 40,000 people dead through gun violence every year. That's not a few people laying down their lives. That's a huge chunk of your society laying down their lives for the right to own a gun. I am certainly more anti-gun than that. Like I said in that video, I think I mentioned it. I mean, I love guns. I love shooting. I love reading about the history of guns. I'd love to have a collection of guns that you can look at and feel and touch and all that sort of thing. But not if that means everybody can access guns and it costs that many people in society. You have to draw that line somewhere. How many people are you willing to give up to protect a right? So I'm probably going to really try and stop saying I'm left. I'm going to talk about individual policies, and maybe on this policy I'm on the left, but this policy I'm more right. Because it does really depend on what you're talking about as to where my views stand. What else did he have to say here? I only care about ideas and what I think is good about it. I tend to think half the world's problems are from people identifying themselves with being on a side. Yeah, I have to agree with that as well. I think once people identify as being left or being right, I think there is the urge to be more likely to agree with things that maybe if you weren't identifying so closely with a side, you maybe wouldn't agree so much with this or that issue. The whole gay marriage thing, we had a plebiscite about 10 years ago. It was just before or just after I came to China. I can't remember exactly when it happened. But it was a plebiscite on gay marriage and whether Australia should allow gay marriage. And it was accepted. We now have gay marriage in Australia. I do wonder how many people who were against that were not actually against that for any good reason. They were against that because they were supporters of their side and they were just going with their side. I think it's less pronounced in Australia. I think and this is my opinion here, I don't know for sure, but it appears to me, and I've mentioned this before, it appears to me that Americans tend to identify much, much more closely with a party. You know, you often hear people when they're being interviewed about political things, they will say, I am a Republican or I am a Democrat. We don't really have that in Australia. I don't really see that in other countries when I see people interviewed about politics. Generally, people do talk about the policies. Whereas America, you know, from my perception, it appears that people are much, much more tied to their party. And they will just agree with whatever their party says. You know, I remember seeing people interviewed and saying, oh, I agree with this Biden policy and this Biden policy, and I disagree with this Trump policy and this Trump policy. I think Biden's policies are better than Trump's policies. And then they're asked, who are you going to vote for? I'm going to vote for Trump. Why? Because I'm a Republican. You know, what the bloody hell? That's just ridiculous. Yeah, a lot of these farmers who are having problems now, you know, the soybean farmers is a great example. The soybean farmers, China's just stopped. They've ordered 0 soybeans from America. You know, China used to buy, I think, 25% of America's soybeans went to China. And this year, because of all the tariff policies and stuff, China said, well, no. Now, all these farmers, they all voted for Trump. It's very, very much Trump country. And he said in the election campaign, this is what he's going to do. And they should have known from, when was it, 2018, the last time all this tariff stuff happened, the soybean farmers got hit hard then. And Trump was saying he is going to do this again. He is going to do it harder. These people should have known that they were going to be the ones who were going to get hit. And yet they all still voted for Trump. Why? Yeah, and it largely comes down to because I'm a Republican. That's who I vote for. It's a very, very strange way of being. Now, having said that, I do understand that I see a very, very small percentage of people in America interviewed. And when I see people identifying themselves as Republicans or Democrats, they are being interviewed in a political climate. You know, the interview is about politics. So maybe, and I would hope, that Americans are not actually as tied to their party as could be perceived from outside. I hope that is just a biased perception because of what we see outside of America. But yeah, I did like tying yourself to a side. I have to agree with what Peter there said. It should be about individual ideas, individual policies. I've mentioned before, you know, back in Australia, over the years, I voted Labor, I voted Greens, I voted Democrat. Who else have I voted? I've voted a couple of other parties over the years, independents. I do tend to pick each election. I will go through the policies, see what each party is pushing, and decide on their policies, not because I am aligned to one or the other. The only party I think I've never voted for, actually 2 parties I don't think I've ever voted for. One would be the Liberal Party and one would be the One Nation, Pauline Hanson's party. They've just not been my thing. But I voted pretty much everywhere else, even Nationals. Nationals are a very conservative party. I did vote them once. So, you know, I move around. It really does for me depend on the policies at the time. So yeah, left and right, it's a talking point that is really too simple and too basic to really get to the point of most issues. I think the only... No, I wouldn't even say that. I was going to try and bring religion into this. Being non-religious myself, there's a lot of people who vote based on their religious views, which is another thing that I hate. I've told the story before. I watched a lady interviewed when Hillary Clinton was running. And this was an elderly lady, 60, 70. And she was asked, you know, which of the candidates, Trump or Clinton, which of their policies do you like best? And she was all for Hillary Clinton. Didn't really like Donald Trump as a person, didn't really like Donald Trump's policies, liked Hillary Clinton, not necessarily as a person, but liked her policies more. And then they said to her, so who are you voting for? Oh, I'm voting for Donald Trump. Why? You don't like his policies, you like Hillary Clinton's. Why are you voting for Donald Trump? Because he's a man. I wouldn't vote for a female to be president of the United States. Why not? Because the Bible. Yeah, that's not even left and right, that's just stupid. Yeah, it's a funny thing. The reasons people vote different ways is a really interesting thing, looking at why people vote the way they do. You know, the big talking point in America at the moment is the trans stuff and the gay rights stuff and all this garbage. And most of the people who are so wound up against this stuff are people who it has no effect of. It doesn't affect you one way or another, whether trans people are allowed to be trans or whatever, or gay people are allowed to get married. If it doesn't affect you, why do you care? I never quite understood that. Because God's against it. Well, let bloody God sort it out when the people die. God can take care of the problem. It's not your issue. You're against gay people and yet you still eat shellfish and you still wear clothing of mixed fabric. Why? Why do you pick and choose which of God's laws you want to follow? Yeah, I was all for gay marriage. My big thing was, and I mentioned this in the Charlie Kirk video, if you're against gay marriage, don't marry a gay person, but that's no excuse to take other people's potential happiness away. And the other thing I mentioned, which I'll say again, which is, I can't remember who, a comedian said this, I think it was a comedian, somebody said this and I read it, and it was, yes, gay people should be allowed to get married. Why shouldn't they be able to be as miserable as the rest of us? And I thought that was bloody brilliant. Really, really good quote. But yeah, the left or right thing. Yeah, that was a really, really good comment. I really like that. It really made me think about where I actually sit, what I actually believe. It didn't change a lot of my beliefs, but it made me think about why I believe them, why I have the beliefs I have. Yeah, I don't think it changed any of my beliefs, but it maybe just put a different spin on things, made me look at things from a different way. It's why I like, me and Tony from the channel Mr. Tony, we sit down quite often and we often talk about, different issues, and a lot of stuff we agree with each other on, but there are things where we disagree. And my thing is, I don't get combative with Tony about that. I'll question Tony. Why do you think this? I try, instead of trying to be combative and trying to convince him of my side of the argument and he should believe what I believe, I'm more interested in understanding why he believes what he believes. You know, he grew up in a different country to me. He's a generation older than me. You know, we come from different places with different experiences and different lifestyles, lots of different things. And all of those differences influence what we believe, what we know. I read different things to him. And this is a big thing with the whole left-right thing, is it is, for some reason, becoming more combative and less about actual dialogue, talking to each other, listening to each other. And yeah, I agree. I used to follow a lot of sort of left-wing media, social media stuff. And most of them I've cut out now, because as much as I agree with what a lot of their ideas and what they stand for, they are becoming more and more competitive. It is more us versus them. And yeah, I'm with you, Peter. I agree with you entirely. A lot of that stuff, I've unsubscribed from a lot of places that I used to watch pretty regularly, because I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of the left versus right. I'm sick of, they're wrong because they're on the right. No, they're not. If they're wrong, you need to actually show the reasons why they are wrong, not just because they are on this side or that side. Data, evidence, proof, experiences, all of this stuff can be used to justify either side. And something that's right for me is not necessarily right for somebody else. They have had different experiences. It has to be different for them. Everybody has to be allowed to think what they want and to put their ideas out there. I mean, Charlie Kirk was shot apparently for his ideas. Now, if we are suddenly not allowed to put our ideas out there because we might offend somebody, then dialogue's out the window. It is just going to be competitive. There's no one side has all the right answers. And when you're running a country, you can't just govern. It's one of my big criticisms of Trump, is he seems to only be interested in governing for the people who voted for him. If you're a Democrat, he's not interested in making your life better through policies that will improve your life. And the left can be said to do exactly the same thing. And when you're trying to run a country, you have to run the country for everybody, not just your small group of supporters. And in America, it is a very small people. I believe it's only about half the voting age population actually vote. So, and roughly half of them will vote Democrat, half will vote Republican. So it's only 25% of the population that are actually supporting whichever side happens to be holding power at the moment. So you've got 75% of the rest of the country that you also have to govern for. You also have to be looking out for the best for them. It can't just be all your way. If you have a group of people and every policy is a negative for that group of people, you have to expect people to start getting angry and to start taking action. you know, a little give and take on both sides would be most welcome. But yeah, I think that's about all we've got to say. So Peter Joel, thank you for the comment. That was a really good comment, really good for getting me thinking. I really appreciated it. It was good. I'm just walking around the school waiting for our buses to take us back home. We're not going to have much of a chance to get out terribly much over the next few days. We got classes, we got makeup classes because we got week off for the National Day holiday coming up. So we got makeup classes on the weekends for those classes. We're going to be busy over the next week and a bit. But that's it for this one. If you've enjoyed that, hit that like, share, subscribe. Questions, comments, hit us up down the bottom in the comment section. And if you come up with a good comment like Peter did, we'll respond to it. And then, as always, if there's anything you would like to know about life here in China, in Guangdong, here in Jiaqing, down there in the comment section, hit us up. You come up with a good idea for a video, we'll go do the research, make you a video. And then, as always, on Facebook, A Scot in China, come and look us up. Like I've mentioned, we share heaps of stuff on there. All the stuff that I can't do videos about, lots of interesting videos popping up about life in China, all around China. So I try and share stuff on there. Come and join the group. But for now, thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe, and we will see you all in the next one. Cheers.